Okay. Let's see if we are live. Should be live. It's been a hot minute. Let's see if we are live. Sweet. We are live, so let's get started with the show. Give me a quick moment to start. How's it going, everybody, and welcome to Shin Megami Tensei Network Link 338. I'm your host, Spencer Presley, and joining me today is just me and all of my fellow SMTN people in the live chat. Today we are celebrating not being shot out outside my window, but I'm sure it's going to sound like that. It is July 3rd as I'm recording this, and as is American tradition, gunshots and fireworks have to be shot off the day before. I don't know why that is. But we're here to talk SMT5 Vengeance, so I hope you guys don't mind it. If you did want to help out the show, feel free to subscribe if you haven't already and you somehow stumble across this. If you would like to help, if you'd like to help scare me away or scare the gunshots away, I don't know how that works. There's also a very lovely super chat button for all the super duper fans out there. But thank you already to all of the super awesome people in the live chat, such as Jack Frost and JNC Gaming. Jack Frost, I have missed this as well. I apologize for how kind of crazy June has been. I've had a couple of things basically slip through. We had plans for a P3R spoiler cast. That got kind of flinched away at the last second. I still want to do that, but obviously Vengeance then came out. So, finished up with a convention last month, wrapping up a bunch of very long games. Like, literally, I'm coming off of, Persona 3 Reload, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and now SMT5 Vengeance, which is completely absorbing my life. So we're going to do a podcast episode. I'm actually planning on making some pretty major podcast changes, but I kind of want to get some opinions before anything major happens. So nothing major will be happening, but I can confirm July. We're locking in, not missing a single week. You will be getting episodes out the wazoo at least once a week. Actually, how many weeks are there even in July? Should be at least like 5, right? Yeah, you guys are all getting at least 5 episodes this week. 5 episodes this week, not yet. 5 episodes this month, so hopefully that helps. Hello, Lumi, and hello, Minato. Hopefully you guys are all doing great. If you have any, by the way, either questions or even SMT5 Vengeance impressions, please let me know in the live chat. I would love to read them off and answer any you might have. Or even just questions about whatever. It's been a hot minute since I streamed. But yes, other housekeeping notes. Besides that, Anime Expo is happening this week in LA. I am not there. Womp womp. But Atlas will be if you are going to Anime Expo or know anyone going to Anime Expo. Atlas will be selling a handful of items, but there is some cool swag. I actually think the swag is probably the coolest part of it. There is a SMT5 Vengeance big giant novelty convention bag. There is a Persona 3 Reload and Episode Aegis lanyard, as well as a Metaphor ReFantasio notebook. All of those you can get for free just by going to the Atlas booth. There's a bunch of other cool stuff to check out. I think NIS America's there. Xseed is going to be there. Bandai Namco is there. There is a whole bunch of stuff. Really, really wish I could have gone, but this is just motivating me, to still pay off my bills from last Anime Expo, and also go back with a vengeance next year. I don't even know what I really would have done this year. We're kind of in between major releases, so it's kind of a weird release. It'd be a weird kind of time. Like, it'd be too soon to do, like, a vengeance panel, and then Metaphor's not out. Like, we probably could have just done, like, a general Atlas panel. I'm not gonna lie. Especially now that I've been and I'm not going the year after, I don't think I've had this much of a like convention FOMO itch in a long time. I would like to actually not only go back again, but like I could see myself wanting this to be like a thing, like, or a convention I go to yearly if possible. So let me know what you guys think about that. Last little bit of podcast housekeeping. Like I said, I'm planning on making some changes. I'll probably either make like a Google submission form or do like an anonymous survey link and be posting that on like YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, stuff like that. Keep an eye out on that. Really want to hear some honest feedback about the podcast in terms of what are some changes you would want to see, what are some changes you don't want to see, things like that before anything are really made. Also, hello more people. We've got Twist here, as well as Phones and Jaffinator. So, housekeeping's out of the way. We are going to be talking about SMT5 Vengeance Impressions, but I want to talk about some news really quick. We don't have a ton outside of Anime Expo happening. Oh, speaking of Anime Expo, there should be a demo booth for Metaphor. So if you want to get hands-on with Metaphor... Alright, my PC blanked out. Alright, you're still there? Sweet, okay. But yes, Metaphor demos will be there if you want to get your hands on it. You can check that out there as well. But some good news we've got is Shin Megami Tensei 5 and Vengeance have sold over 1.6 million copies, which is insane. So obviously SMT5 Vengeance had sold over 1 million copies. We knew that from back in 2021, but 3 days after release, Vengeance has already sold over 600,000 copies. Now, with it being on PC, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Xbox One, Series X and S, Nintendo Switch, you would kind of hope it would do really well. I was a little worried about its release timing, as I am with most Atlas games, especially re-releases, but this one seems to be doing really well. It's had really strong legs in terms of in the Japanese markets, which we'll talk about in a bit. Western markets, I've seen a lot of copies selling out. Like, even when I go to game stores, I've pretty much only been able to find the Switch version. And interestingly enough, actually, the Steelbook versions are not completely sold out, but have been selling out faster than I would have expected a day one launch version to have been selling out. Now, speaking of Vengeance sales in Japan, we do have some physical numbers from launch week. So when Vengeance came out, it had sold a whopping 57,000 physical copies in Japan, and the breakdown's actually a lot closer than I would have thought. The Switch version sold just under 32,000 copies. The PS5 version sold over 18,000 copies, and God bless them, the PS4 version snaking on by with 6,367 copies. Solid numbers outside, I mean, obviously outside of the PS4. PS4, when you see numbers like that, I think it makes a lot of sense why Atlas West and a lot of other publishers are dropping PS4 physical releases, because it's like, yeah, this is... there's a huge player base there, but I think in terms of who's buying these games physically, clearly a large amount of the PlayStation 4 players have gone over to PS5. So, comparing the Switch versions, though, Nintendo Switch selling basically... well, I guess actually probably a better way to phrase this. PS5 selling just under 2/3 of how well the Nintendo Switch version is, I think is really strong, not only for PlayStation, because... remember, the last SMT game we've had, proper SMT game on PlayStation, was Nocturne HD. Both of those sold really well. Actually, I should pull those up while I'm talking about that. And what was funny about it was I was expecting Switch to completely blow this away, so I'm actually kind of glad that PlayStation audiences, not only in Japan, but also it looks like around the world, and also shout out to Xbox, are showing up for this game physically, because remember, it's not on Game Pass. Now, there is no physical version in Asia, but in PAL regions, Europe, America, all the other countries outside of Asia, Xbox does have a physical version, and has been selling pretty well. I've seen a lot of people posting about this on Xbox. It's the first proper Xbox SMT since 9, so that is a big deal. Alright, let's see if we can find the Nocturne HD sales. We are not looking... we're not looking for the US numbers. We're looking for Japan. Here we go. Alright, I got it pulled up here. How did Nocturne do compared to SMT5, I wonder? I'm just going to say now, I bet Nocturne probably sold more than Vengeance did, but again, not really a fair comparison. Re-release of a game from 3 years ago versus PS2 remaster almost 20 years later. Okay, so on launch week, the Nintendo Switch and PS4 version, let's see, yeah. Wow, man, what a difference 4 years makes. So remember, everybody, we got HD pretty late here in the West. It was a game that released in October of 2020, and we got it 2021, I think it was like May, so we had to wait quite a while. But in Japan, Nocturne on Switch sold over 52,000 copies, and the PS4 version sold 48. That was really, really close with each other. So 100K copies for Nocturne is pretty wild, all things considered. But once again, like I said, Vengeance has already sold over 600,000 copies in 3 days worldwide. I think there's not really that much to have to worry about in terms of how's this game's sales doing. Word of mouth has been really, really great, especially on PC. I've been so shocked to see not only how long it's been on the Steam best-selling chart, but also most played. Xbox sales charts digitally haven't been super, super awesome, but I've noticed it's still been in the best sellers for Nintendo Switch and PlayStation for at least the last 2 weeks. It's, I think, been at least the top 20 for PlayStation, and I think for Nintendo it's in the like 30 to 50 range. Now, in terms of other news besides that, we don't really have too much. We're kind of in a bit of a lull period. We're going to get a bunch of Metaphor news on Friday. So at Anime Expo, they are doing a Metaphor ReFantazio panel, and then there will be a special live stream follow-up about all the information shown there, new trailers, things like that. I think pretty much, yeah, that is just about it in terms of the big news. Funny little kind of comparison, though, is not little comparison, but weird news. Randomly this week, McFarlane Toys announced that they have partnered up with Atlus and Sega and will be doing officially licensed Persona 3 Reload merch. I'm not gonna lie, I might have to get these. Like, McFarlane Toys aren't normally like too horrendously expensive, and they're made pretty widely available. You'll usually see them every now and then, like at like outside of like toy shops and like novelty shops. I see them every now and then at like GameStops or even like Target. So if this is something that like we end up seeing on like store shelves, or even in like, if it's even just like an online exclusive, I would not have expected that. I would have thought the first thing we saw in terms of action figures in the West for Reload would have been like another wave of Funko Pops or something. Like, reminder, like, the weird thing with Persona 5, like, those Funko Pops actually got pretty expensive down the line. They did take a while. The weird thing, though, they never finished everybody. They only have, I think, about half the Phantom Thieves. They have a bunch of different versions of Joker, Morgana, Ryuji, An, Yusuke, Makoto. I think that's it. Yeah, there was no Haru, no Futaba, no Akechi. Yeah, a whole bunch of like stuff was kind of left on the table there. So maybe that means there's more options for other kinds of merchandise. Obviously, I know Funko Pops are not everyone's cup of tea. God, especially the Persona 5 ones. They look really, really weird. But more interesting and weird little Atlus bonuses out there and other kind of partnership combinations. I'm always here for it. But besides that, that's it mostly for the news, so let's jump into some Vengeance impressions, and also catch up on chat. I had to look at sales numbers, so apologies, chat. Alright. Hello, chat. I'm looking at you now. I appreciate you. Jaffinator, you lead me into the impressions thing first, so I'm gonna save your little bit last. So I'm gonna start from the newest and go to the oldest, leading up to you. Phone says, "What build have you gone for so far with your Nahabino?" So right now, I am primarily playing on PlayStation 5. I think I put in just under 20 hours, or I'm like right at the 20-hour mark. I've had a couple of deaths, but not too many. I haven't had too many surprises in terms of my adventure. I'm playing on normal, and I would say right now I'm primarily magic, vitality first and foremost. Both of those are around in the 30s. And then strength is slightly behind, and then luck and agility are getting some love, but not very much. But definitely very heavy magic build. SMT5 still, even with the balance adjustments, is such a magic-heavy game, or can be a very magic-heavy game, that like it's hard not to, especially with all of the different like affinity and like skill essence fusions of like, alright, let me see how much of a god I can make myself into, pun not intended. I will say, limited, I forgot how few skills you get in the beginning, and it's so tough trying to build out your party when you only have like these 5 skills, and you want to have something that covers everything, but obviously you don't want to just have one skill of everything. You want to try and focus on things. I've noticed myself, I will say, negotiating a lot more and changing my party way more than I did in original SMT5. In original SMT5, I literally had Mermaid in my party for probably at least all the way up until you went to, like, I think the Fairy Forest in the second area. Let's see, Minato, obligatory joke for SMT9 going to SMT5. Very true. They're going to have their Madden 25 moment one day. Phone says, I'm just about done with the PS5 Platinum for SMT5 Vengeance. Just 4 more trophies, and it's complete. I will say, I don't actually think that Platinum looks that hard outside of, obviously, playing the 2 playthroughs for the route and doing the super bosses. I was kind of surprised, unless I'm wrong, I don't think there is a trophy for every variation of the ending. There are different trophies on the endings you can get, but I was kind of worried that they were going to do a thing of like, okay, here's 9 trophies for all the different routes in Vengeance, and then here's all 9 different trophies for all the different routes in Creation. I'm glad that was not the case. Jaffinator also says, I've strangely only seen the Switch version in stores. Yeah, so at least where I live over here in the Midwest, I've seen the PS5 version in stores at like GameStop and a couple local mom and pop shops. Walmart and Target have gotten the Switch Steelbook, but most of them only got like a couple of copies in and or are sold out. Xbox, I haven't seen any copies in store of outside of the one I pre-ordered. I'm sure probably like Vintage Stocks or like other stores near me might have them, because usually they order at least one of everything that comes out. Best Kaditsu is, I'm gonna have to just say pass, unfortunately, because like where I'm at in the story, I've only really met, I mean, I've met 3 technically at this point. But I haven't really got to kind of sink my teeth into them. I really am finding myself enjoying not only fighting them, but also like all their unique moves and animations and stuff with it. It's been really fun having them pop up in the story way more than I thought. And like one of the things that I'm going to get into with my impressions is like, okay, they really undersold where and when the differences are for Vengeance, and I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing of how they sold it. It's just interesting, but we'll get into that for sure. But best girl out of the evil waifus, I just don't have one yet, because like I feel like my answer is going to change by the end. They are all very gorgeous and incredibly great design, including the fact that they are like so fan servicey, but like in a weirdly SMT appropriate kind of way. They don't feel like they stick out, which is interesting. And I'll also get into that with Yoko. What's up, Sean? Sean is here, says, do you prefer the new or original Nahabino design? So I'm not up to the new purple Nahabino, but from everything I've seen, I want to still say the blue is probably more iconic, but I wouldn't be shocked with the context of the new purple Nahabino that it kind of changes my mind once I get to the end of the game. A great example of that is going to be once I beat the game and go back to Canon of Creation, how much am I going to miss not having that version available and stuff like that. Let's see here. Another one was, Sean said, I'm so happy I found so many Megaton fans. At first, I was worried all the fans are in Japan. I'm glad you all exist. Sean, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate hearing that. Minato says, I sent my friend a pic of the Kaditsu with no context. She responded with a smasher pass, only passed on Ishith. I mean, it must be a hair thing. It's gotta be like, is it the hair? I'm gonna need like some context. Why the pass on her? Phone says, what do you think of the demon co-op attacks? I am conflicted. I know they have like their own name and stuff with it, but I like how many of there are, especially early on. I don't know if this is just because of I've been trying to unlock so many different demons that my party is kind of like a complete mess right now. There's no real theme. I know I could summon and have more in there, but I've just been so busy trying to have and fill out my compendium as much as possible. I've been more worried on getting new powerful demons as opposed to having ones that have those attacks. I've only done one. I've seen a couple different ones like through the marketing and things like that, but I've only had one come up naturally. I haven't really been adjusting my party to make them occur. I almost kind of wish it was something like a bit of a mixture of the Theurgy attacks in Persona 3 Reload, where I could have one demon there, like I just need to have High Pixie, or I just need to have Lilith or something. Well, not Lilith, but I just need to have like a Succubus or whatever, and I can do their group attack without having them all in my party. And maybe that's a thing that you can unlock later down. I wouldn't be surprised if that's a miracle or something I haven't seen. It's just one of those ones of I'm not building my parties around them. So because I'm not building my parties around them, I'm still finding myself using Magatsui attacks that are the generic, like, hey, everyone has this, or this is the one Magatsui attack for this demon, things like that. What is up, Chris? Chris says, the only co-op attack I naturally ended up using was the Kukulian, Skinek, and the 4 Karitsu ones. Yeah, so... Oh, man, the Karitsu ones are really, really cool. I've seen that one in the trailer with it. I haven't seen the Kukulian one, I don't think, but I'm very excited to check it out. Let's see here. Sean also said, so thoughts on the demon haunts? The special conversations of the haunts are definitely a welcome feature, especially knowing it's OP with Aogami. So, I cannot agree more. Demon haunts were something of like, I don't know how much I'm going to use you. I know none of these were going to be voiced. Obviously, they're not going to be hiding any, like, story moments behind it. But it's kind of funny. It reminds me a lot of the Thieves' Den from Persona 5 Reload, of it's a fun spot to just pop in, even if it wasn't for the gift-giving aspects or the buffs you get from it. I love touching base with all the different demons about either what's going on, what do they think of everything, even if it's just like flavor text stuff, because obviously most of the demons aren't going to comment on the bosses that you're fighting. But I love the moments of Aogami talking to you. I really wish those were voiced. There's not enough of them that I'm like, I don't really understand it, but one of the things I wouldn't be shocked if I kind of come away from Vengeance feeling of like, oh, they put like a lot of attention into adding new quality of life and other things without really like blowing the budget. And a first big one that I've noticed is like there's not a lot of new voice acting, which like it's hard to like hold against it. But especially coming off of something like a Persona 3 Reload, and especially coming off of something like a Final Fantasy 7 Remake and Rebirth, of like, Jesus Christ, everything is voice acted. There's a lot of moments in Vengeance where I'm like, yeah, you kind of cheaped out in terms of not voice acting a lot of stuff there. Also, yes, Minato, unfortunately, the Demon Haunts don't unlock Uno Poker, which, God, can you imagine, like... I'm imagining, like, the image of the dogs playing poker around the table, but it's just your demons and your demon haunt. While that is a bummer that there's no game you can't play, the fact that the demon haunts change depending on where you are is really, really cool. It's a really nice touch. And, yeah, just, like, having those moments of touching base with them, getting those stat buffs, getting new skills, giving gifts... But again, it being a completely optional thing that doesn't really hinder yourself if you don't do it, and is just more fun flavor text if you enjoy it. It's so, so, so welcome. Like, I can't imagine... Like, there are so many things in Vengeance that I will definitely look back on SMT5 fondly for the foreseeable future. But it is just so funny for me of, like, looking at it and being like... yeah, I don't... Outside of comparing this, I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to... I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to come in, pick up one, and be like, oh yeah, this needed to be there versus one or the other. So, I'm trying to think, what is some other stuff with it? what is some other ones I wanted to get at here? Let's see. Oh, hello, Adrian. Love the show. Thank you so much. Hope to see some more guests on as we get closer to ReFantasio. Man, we need some like voice actor announcements for that game as well. I do have some more interviews coming up. I'm currently talking to 3 voice actors to get them on the show. And my kind of goal right now, I think what I'm wanting to try and do is get voice actor episodes lined up well and ahead of time without them cutting into talking about SMT news and like SMTN like podcast updates. And the only reason I kind of say that was like I had a moment last week with Casey of originally we were going to have an Impressions episode up and then Casey was going to be an episode after. Well, because the Impressions episode kind of ended up being missed and I hadn't had as much time to play with it, obviously I didn't want to push back having Casey on the show. But then that kind of led into us being like, okay, well, we're not really talking about the game too much. So it kind of led to Civ getting pushed back. So my kind of thought process with it is, if possible, getting to a point where guest episodes can kind of be that thing where as soon as I'm done with them, they go up right away for patrons and then can get kind of rolled out even if they're not mainline numbered episodes, and people will still get them within that weekly fold. But if there's if there's still either news or a topic that I want to cover without kind of feeling like one has to get bumped over the other. Obviously, I don't think that's going to be as big of a deal with news kind of coming up soon, but realistically for me, right now where I kind of see July, I would love to be at this point in August and have the Vengeance spoiler cast up. There's a couple different spoiler casts I want to do. I feel like I'm going to have to do this backwards now, of like, there's a pretty okay to high chance that August might be the month of spoiler cast. And again, please let me know what you all think of this, but there is a chance that in August it might literally just be spoiler cast for Vengeance, spoiler cast for Reload, spoiler cast for Tactica, and then we're kind of then leading up to the release of episode Aegis. So, like, let me know what you guys think of that. Like, would a month full of spoiler cast be too much? Would you want me to space them out? I'm just kind of curious, because I've got ideas and people lined up for them, and I know the shows are going to be good, but I don't want to have, like, the spoiler cast be a year old. Let's see here. What else do we got? Sean says, what is your favorite demon that has surprised you with the 3D models so far? A big one for me, honestly, have just been the new ones. Like, the brand new demons, especially looking at all the different kind of designs for it, of the demons from Soul Hackers getting brought into this game. Like, there was something almost kind of interesting that I'd be curious to sort of compare and like where my headspace is at, of like, okay, when I'm seeing a demon from Persona 5 get brought over for like the millionth time into SMT5 Vengeance, it definitely sticks out like a sore thumb, and not in a bad way, but like it still feels like it's from Persona 5. Like when I'm looking at Cat C, I see that Persona 5 model. Whereas, like, I look at something like the Gremlin, and I look at something like the Running Granny, and I'm like, yeah, like this, there's something about how they've been making these new 3D models that I'm finding I like way more than however they were kind of using the models with Persona 5 and stuff like that earlier. It's been a really nice change back as well, especially just because of how you used the demons and how you were really seeing them in Reload. I'm trying to think, I don't even know if Reload had any demons that were new. I think all the demons in it were just from the past game and then the Persona 5 and Persona 4 one. So now seeing all of these new demons, all of these returning demons, all these demons I haven't seen since either 2021 or 2022, is just been like a huge smack in the face. It's like, oh wow, okay, this is very different. And I'm so excited to see all the new ones. And like, kind of going back to the impressions a little bit, the game is just so stupidly pretty. I don't understand how I'm impressed at how good this game looks. And like, I'm realistic. Like, I know it's not like, there are some like janky ass textures at times. But like, for what I want and stuff, there are so many moments where the game just takes me away in terms of returning locations, graphical comparisons, how smooth it runs, the technical performance of everything has completely blown me away. I've been really, really impressed with how much I've enjoyed the music, the graphics, the options. I've had almost no bugs. I've had very, very few jank animations or anything really looking with it. This is probably gonna be one of the most impressive Atlas games I've seen since Persona 3 Reload. I think Persona 3 Reload probably... That's tough. I think... Because, you look at the graphics of Persona 3 Reload, and I think it's a lot poppier and, a lot more contemporary and kind of, alright, you know what you're getting. It's a known quantity. But the, World of Vengeance and Dot and from SMT5 are so unique. It just stands out. There's not a lot of games out there like it, which is such a testament to the game, because it's bro, there's a lot of brown levels in this game. There's a lot of fucking sand. But Sean brings up another good point. How do they make sand look so good in this game? I don't know. They somehow find a way to make it look good even on Switch still. Thank God. I will give some quick update impressions. I've messed around with the Xbox Series X version and the Switch version, handheld mode primarily for Switch. I'm about 5 hours into the game on Switch, and I've played it for, I think, around an hour and a half to 2 hours on Xbox. Xbox played just like PlayStation. There was no noticeable difference or anything at all with it. All the same kind of bells and whistles. Really, really tiny complaint that I'm mostly going to put out there, just because some Atlas games do this and other ones don't. I don't know why this game doesn't. Why does SMT5 not have any, vibration features at all with it? It seems really weird. I know it's a dumb feature most people probably don't care about, but it's just one of those things that I'm always kind of wondering, why do some Atlas games have really great haptic feedback? Soul Hackers had good haptics, if I remember, and I know Persona 3 Reload had really good ones. I think even Tactica had stuff, but why SMT5 does not, I have absolutely no idea. How's the Switch version? Does it run pretty smooth or a bit laggy by comparison? I compared it to Vanilla 5. I actually brought 2 different Switches back to back, and I looked at them for it. The performance of Unreal Engine 4 is just about identical with it. They thankfully didn't add anything that makes the game run like trash, while at the same time, they did nothing to improve it. So, if you looked at vanilla SMT5 and were oof, the shimmering graphics, the level of detail texture pop in, or the slowdown at times kind of bothers you with it, it's all still there in the game. It never was a deal breaker for me on Switch. I think where I could see it possibly becoming more of a big deal, I'd be curious kind of going into more of those larger open world areas where you have a lot of Magatsuei rails, and kind of comparing okay, are adding these features kind of bogging us down? And that kind of goes back to of some of the things that were added, how do I feel? And the Magatsuei rails are a really interesting one for me. I think the Magatsuei rails are a welcome addition. It's a great way of traveling around without having to do as much fast travel. I'm noticing I almost never use the Leyline Crossing fast travel at this point, unless I'm leaving to go to Tokyo or to go to a whole new area to begin with, which I think is a welcome thing, because I remember in SMT5 I did a lot of fast travel. There was a lot of times where I'd be I do not want to walk from point A to point B. I would rather just fast travel here, get what I need, come back to the leyline point, boom, 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 boom. Whereas in Vengeance, I'm finding myself almost never doing that, because it's kind of by the time you get to the end of a world map, and I've done at least 2 full world maps at this point, you can basically just ride those rails from stop to stop to stop to stop to stop all the way there and cut down the world traveling time immensely. I've really, really enjoyed it. My only weird little sticking point with it feels incredibly forced. It feels like a fan mod thing. I understand why it's there for convenience, but lore-wise, it makes no sense. The fact that any character that comments on it is just oh, hey, what's this weird thing? No one says anything about it. You can't see them in the world. Like, you can only see the little red spouts in the world in terms of where to start. If it's the ones that are just like to get you from point A to point B, I don't mind those ones as much. But there are a lot that are just like, I'm going to take you from point A to a landmark in the sky. Landmark in the sky will let you walk to another one, and then that landmark one will take you down to the real point. Which then just lets me go like, okay, I haven't found any of these that are like multi-split options. These islands are always just one point connected to another. So why am I stopping halfway through this grind rail to just hop on another grind rail? You're not really taking in the environment. The platform sticks out like a sore thumb of a, like, it literally looks like it was an asset taken out of like Sonic Frontiers. Like, it's just a giant floating hexagonal like object. And it's like again, I get it. I 100% get why they're there. I use them all the time. I am sure I sound like a huge hypocrite. It's just like in the theming of the world, it makes no sense at all. It sticks out so much I can't unsee it as like a weird mod thing. But again, I'm using it. So I think if you were someone, like, I think if this was my first time playing SMT5, I don't know, it's weird. Like, I wonder if I'm on one of two sides of like, do the Magatsui rails annoy me because I know they were never meant to be there? Or do they annoy me, or no, sorry, or would I have never noticed or cared about them if this was my first time playing? Chris, I love the spoiler. I will allow that to be a spoiler. I kind of figured that was the case, but thank you. Chris says there are some 3 and 4 rail hubs later on. I kind of figured, especially, Jesus, with some of those later levels, how big they get. I would be shocked if not. But again, my point kind of still goes there. The grind rails, by the way, just being a grind rail, which, again, it's a skippable cutscene. It literally is just a thing of, like, yeah, it looks cool when you're doing it, but, like, there's no interaction. There's no camera function. You can just watch them kind of swing around in the world or grind around in the world, and then you're there. But again, very, very minor thing. Other things I wanted to talk about. Story changes with vengeance, but I'm not going to get into spoilers. When this was first announced, we had heard from Atlas, hey, we are adding in a brand new route. The game is about 50 to 60% the same, no matter what route you do, Canon of Creation or Canon of Vengeance. And you will mostly notice the differences towards the later half of the game. So in my thoughts, I was like, okay, you're still going to start the same. You'll probably get the new character in the first level, but nothing is going to feel that majorly different. Wrong. This game has so many, like, and it's not constant. Like, when you think about it, the major story beats, especially in the first world, are very similar. Like, outside of one moment where you're fighting one of the members of the Kudetsu, like, the first level in Tokyo is the first level in Tokyo. You are still working your way to the Dia building, and you're fighting Nua at the end. Nothing is changing. That world is still mostly the same. You're still traveling it the same. It's all there, but it's little changes that add up to a lot over time. Adding playable guest characters it's been so welcomed at this point that I'm at the point now where I'm like, oh yeah, like, this was severely missing in Vanilla 5. Like, it was so weird that you, like, even before Yoko was a character, like having your fellow school members and stuff being demon summoners, but you couldn't fight with them. You couldn't see them in fight. Like, even if they were non-playable characters, like how 4 did it, it was weird you didn't fight with them, especially when you're all on the same side. It's so very funny. Now, by comparison, I'm seeing myself fighting with Yoko. I'm seeing myself fighting with Dazai. I'm seeing myself, like, looking forward to finding out what other guest characters I'm going to unlock. And it's just such a fun, organic thing that they added that, so far to me, outside of like one or two like cutscenes that they really just either they couldn't really have done too much with or whatnot, there are some times when the story does definitely feel like they added Poochie the dog with Yoko. Like, Yoko, when you're introduced to Koshimizu and everyone in the diet building, Yoko is in the background constantly, and like no one talks to her first. She's always the last person they talk to. They're like, "Oh yes, girl with brown school uniform. How are you doing today? Would you like to join our special demon cult?" And it's like, early on, you understand like where Yoko's coming from. She's mostly hanging around you to be with you and learn more about the Nahabino and your skills. It's just really funny. I'm just like, I'm sure she will be more pivotal in the story, and she definitely has some interesting kind of interactions once you get to like the second part, like past the school dungeon. It's just so funny in the beginning. Like, she just really does feel like someone like modded their OC character in there. I will say this, no spoilers, there is a moment though where Yoko interjects herself into the story and makes such a difference that I was shocked they were going there. And it's not really for anything that matters that much in the long run, or at least that I've seen so far. But it's now starting to make changes that I'm now getting excited to replay the Canon of Creation just to compare them fresh off each other. It's absolutely wild. I'm really excited to kind of see more of the character dynamics. I know we get a lot more like Atsuda and Dazai moments. So far I've seen a couple of new ones. They've just been really, really interesting. I got to my first controllable demon quest, which was not as gimmicky as I thought. I was kind of like wondering, like, okay, how are they going to do this without making it like a fight battle? And they've done a lot of really good jobs of like adding new elements to the gameplay and mechanics of like doing side quests or negotiating that don't feel gimmicky while still using the core that's in that world of like talking to other demons as a demon, but not being the Nahabino, or doing the demon negotiation and having all the different new factors, the new dialogue, the new demon guessing quizzes. All of those have felt really, really organic and have been a really welcome change. Let's see here. Sean's got to go. Thank you so much for popping in, Sean. Hope you enjoy the game, and I hope my questions kept it interesting. I do appreciate it. Change he the world, ho, goodbye, ho, he. Minato says, part of me wishes guests worked like they did in 4 and 4A. I don't want my demons to be on the sideline, and I want to hang out with my best girl, Tao. I definitely get that, because I did get to a point in the second level, because the first world mostly just gives you Yoko, but then you get Tao as well with Yoko in the second area, and I did get to a point where I was like, yeah, if I had like, oops, all guest characters, like, obviously your demons are still leveling up and you're not, like, at a disadvantage, but at the same time, it's kind of like, well, I'm getting all these new demons, but I'm really only able to use, like, 1 or 2 of them at a time, and you're not really swapping them out that much, or at least I wasn't early on. I think what kind of happened was I got to a Karitsu fight that basically neither one of my guest characters helped me at all, and that kind of reminded me. I was like, yeah, I should sort of like pop in and out like more demons like with the guest characters, because like, I think I was using them a lot early on for the novelty of it, whereas realistically you still want to be changing up those demons, you still want to be changing up those builds, and remembering that like, hey, don't keep your party stagnant for too long, A, just because it will freshen things up in terms of you playing it, and B, it's going to make getting stronger and better demons and more skills more interesting. Plus, also, you aren't able to do those like special combo skills like we talked about as much. Let's see. Chris also says, I just got to the part where Tao joins you in the Canon of Creation. Fun fact, they actually didn't back implement her as a party member there for some reason. Yeah, it's... that's another one, again, with it, of like, the changes I've seen. So, on my Switch playthrough and on Xbox, I've been playing Canon of Creation, and on PS5, my main playthrough has been on Vengeance. It's really weird some of the changes they've brought over and decided to keep versus like keep exclusive to one over the other. There hasn't been any that I've like found like insulting or weird, in the sense of like, it's not like Skyview is only in Vengeance. Like, you can use Skyview, you can use the Magatsuhi rails and things like that. Blizz says, honestly, it's such a balancing act because I found my demons falling behind for a bit. Yeah, that's another one with it, of like having those guest characters, like, yes, they're leveling up, but you never know how long they're going to be there for you. You don't know if they're going to be there in that boss fight. You don't know if they're going to stay there in the next chapter. Like, if you spend a good amount of time, like, leveling up Dazai with you, and then Dase's just never with you again for the rest of the story if you take a different route. It's kind of like, oh shit, like, yeah, what did I do? Let's see. Fun fact about guest characters. On Godborn difficulty, everything is leveled up except the guest character. I saw that. I thought that was so funny. So, Godborn difficulty is the new, basically, super balls-crushingly hard difficulty you get after beating the game. You can't play it at the beginning. You can only play, I think it's safety if you download it, easy, normal, and hard. And yeah, everyone's leveled up but the guest characters, and it's so funny. I saw a screenshot of, like, you're doing the first fight with the guest characters, and they're, like, level 7 versus everyone else is, like, 150 to 200. It's so funny. Pokestar says, I keep the guest in my party until they learn all of their skills, and then I switch them out for all my demons. That's actually that's a good one for that, of, like, you're most likely not going to, like, have them learn more than, like, a handful of skills when you're using them. Minato says, I feel Tao not joining of the combat in Cane of Creation kind of makes sense. She was only motivated really to fight more in Vengeance, which is, again, a good point. Another good comparison of taking these characters we saw or kind of wanted more of in Creation and comparing and contrasting them with the Vengeance route's been really, really cool. Trying to think before I start wrapping up. Talked about the music. The music has been fantastic so far. There's way more new music early on than I would have ever guessed. The voice acting and the new cutscenes have been really, really fun, but I can already tell, like, I can't wait till I get to just straight up new story. Like, once I full on leave behind the, like, Canon of Creation story route and notes and stuff like that with it, I can't wait to check out the new form, the new dungeon, and all the other stuff like that. I'm really, really excited. Difficulty-wise, I kind of talked on this a little bit for it, but I think the balancing has been really, really fair. It still feels just as hard, if not a little bit more fair, in terms of there have been less skill check issues, but the tricky part about me kind of judging that is I'm also coming into the beginning of this game knowing full well what every major kind of boss fight is that's shared among both paths. Like, I knew to expect Nua, and I knew to expect, like, the Hydra, and, like, those moments that when I first played them in vanilla were like, holy shit, I have got to do some grinding, I have got to do some side quests, I've got to do other things like that. I'm wondering if that will kind of still stay the same, because a big, like, I would say, for me personally in vanilla, the biggest skill check of the game, without a doubt, had to be the last major large area before you get to the final dungeon. You basically get to a point where you have to fight all of these major gods and deities, and you get to go about it in whatever order you want, and all of them will spank your ass, like, hardcore. You just have to grind. Speaking of grinding, I will say, I have not activated or even bought the DLC yet, just because I know I'm not at the point where I could even mess around with the DLC. And I will say, shout out to the spawn rate for the Mitama not being fucked up at all. They've all been super, super solid. I at least see them once every 5 battles or so. Also, finding them a lot more when I'm doing my navigator searches, like, throughout the world. I almost feel like, in terms of where the spawn rate has been, it's actually increased from where it was in vanilla. So the fact that they're selling a, like, increased version even more confuses me for this. But I mean, that's Atlas. They have to sell their easy mode versions for somebody. DLC review will be coming at some point. I think at this point I'm gonna have to, like, double check. I think my SMT5 video, like, DLC review is, like, legitimately my most viewed video. I came across that recently and I was, like, kind of shocked. Let's take a look and see where it's at now. Most viewed. Yeah, I'm guessing it probably got a pretty good, like, view bump after SMT5 coming out and people looking up SMT5 DLC. Ironically, all that DLC is baked into the game. It's kind of been funny. The DLC is trickling through a lot more than I thought. I would have expected them to just kind of dump all the DLC for you with it, but they actually, like, sprinkle it in a lot better than I thought they would. So There will be an update to my What SMT5 Vengeance DLC should you buy or skip. Uh, Most likely, I think some of those quests like cap out at around your first playthrough. So once I get to the point where I can like actually unlock and play and use all those DLC demons, like I'm dying to check out the Dagda quest. Let's see. Minato says, my boss bought the bundle with the DLC, do not understand the Mitama are on... Oh, sorry, did not understand that the Mitama are on by default. I had to tell him that the spawn rate was not natural. I mean, hey, like I said, it's already pretty high even without the DLC. Let's see. Jack Frost says, the level scaling was insane. Literally shot up like 20 levels after the Demon Castle. Pokestar says, I've been playing for the first time on normal, and it's been a comfortable experience. It's fun. I rarely die more than once a boss fight. Yeah, that's like a good point. Like, even with the new boss fights, I haven't had anything that was like, oh man, like when I get one shot or two shotted, I know why. Like, I know what I did wrong. I know what I needed to adjust. And, I think you've also noticed by, like, there's been no conversation, at least that I've seen compared to Persona 3 Reload. There has not been as much of a conversation about the difficulty balancing, which has been really nice. Because as someone who actually liked the difficulty in Reload, I find those conversations really, really boring, especially when a lot of it is kind of try-hardy. Jack Frost says, did SMT5 finally get the heart it was missing? That would be such a great, like, episode name. I should actually reach out. And, like, see if she's played SMT5, the original IGN reviewer. To my knowledge, I should, like, look this up. I don't even know. Like, did IGN ever finally, like, post a review? They did a bunch of, like, sponsored content. But I don't know if they did a Vengeance review. I'm sure they did. Here we go. Shin Megami Tensei 5 Vengeance video review. When did it come out? Yeah, the review came up. Michael Hyam reviewed it. Michael Hyam, also a friend of the show. I gotta drag him back on here for it. That's funny. I'm almost kind of shocked they didn't ask the original reviewer back, but also kind of like with the too much water thing, like it was such a meme about like how it was all handled that I wouldn't be shocked. Okay, so Michael did the review, but the video review didn't get like published until like a week after, which honestly I'm not that shocked for it. Yeah, Nintendo Life referenced the Heartland review. I mean, I'm very biased in terms of the IGN review. I did not think it was that bad. I get why people didn't like it though. So at the same time, I definitely understand. By the way, I think our like interview or podcast episode with Leanna was like, because I have the numbers pulled up here. I think it is legitimately, that's our most viewed episode of the podcast ever. I don't think we have any other ones. Yeah. So yeah, when we had Leanna on, that was like, yeah, that is wild. That is a 12,000 views on a almost 90-minute long podcast is pretty fucking rare for us. The only other one that's closer is my tier list video, which is very outdated. I need to update. And that was at like 10 or 11K. And then nothing else close for a while. Like, we've got a couple live streams and reactions, but nothing comes close to that one at all, which is absolutely wild. I should reach out, though. I need to get Michael on the show, because I've been trying to yank him back on to talk about this since he was still at GameSpot. But, yeah, I did not know he had done the Vengeance review. Need to talk to him. And I need to also see if Leanna has actually been playing. I'd be curious to kind of see if their opinion on the game has sort of changed at all. Let us see here. Birdman, what is up? Been playing on hard Vengeance run, just past the fairy village. No bosses have really stumped me so far, but I had to revamp my party for one of the new bosses. I'm wondering when it's going to be all new. Yeah, so the point of no return should be after, I'm gonna guess after the third major area, when you would originally go to the Council of Bethel and kind of have that big showdown moment. I think that's where it's going to happen. I wouldn't be shocked if either something different happens really there. I'm actually more curious of like how in how involved is the Council of Bethel going to be in the Vengeance Arc? Because I mean, obviously, all of these major powers and players around the world, like, they're going to have an opinion of what this group is doing. Let's see. Chris says, I mean, the big change came in the school. You already that's true. I mean, that's a big change as well. But in terms of, like, big, I'm now a purple Nahabino change, I think is what they're more meaning. Jack Frost says, so does your copy of SMT4A have the Best Buy pre-order skin with it? Yes, it does. I'm a very proud legal owner of my Best Buy pre-order skin. I think I also still have the GameStop one, too. I was a sicko and got both back in the day. But, everybody, we are going to start wrapping up. Thank you all so much for watching this live. It was such a blast talking with you all. Like I said, weekly podcast. You're committed. I'm committed. Survey coming up soon. Thank you all so much for watching. If you have been playing Vengeance, let me know in the comments below. How much are you enjoying it? Anyone out there being a big sicko, giving it a 6 out of 10, let me know. All jokes aside, all feedback is welcome. I do want to hear from everybody with it, but I do have to give a big shout out to all of the supporters on the SMTN Patreon. If you want to support the show, one day I'll remember to turn on the YouTube membership feed. That you know what? Actually, that should be we'll do a bit of post housekeeping news, because I did forget to mention this. We do actually have news, besides the other news. So, shout out to all of the SMTN Patreon supporters. If you enjoyed supporting the show, if you enjoyed the show at all, supporting us on patreon.com/SMTN is the best way to help keep the lights on, pay for the hosting fees, getting all of our egregious amount of Steelbook copies, and keeping the show, doing fun stuff with it. You can support the show at $1. You will get exclusive giveaways. You will get the show early when it is up and able to be shot early, as well as at the $5 and up tier, you are an executive producer, just like Michael Wilson, Bell Chill, Cosmic Lumi, Budweiser Tall Cans, Carlos Hernandez, Cross Rinrin, Winnie, Jagingus, Gorosero, Solaire, Mirth Mouser, Stephen Yip, and Patrick Dishart. All have. You guys are super awesome and super appreciated. And July is going to actually be... I think we haven't done this since Anime Expo of last year. July is going to be a fundraiser month. So, if we can make this happen, I would love to make this happen. On August 17th, 2024, next month, Game Realm in Burbank, California is hosting a SMT5 Vengeance meet and greet event. Game Realms is a super, super awesome mom and pop small video game shop down in California. I've always wanted to go for a long time. I've been a big supporter of theirs. They do a lot of really, really good stuff in terms of they were big proponents and fans of the Vita through a very, very long amount of my time being online. I would always see them, hear good things about them. They do a lot of these meet and greet events, and for the longest time, so many of them have been situations of hey, we're going to, a week or two later, get a couple of the voice actors together for X, Y, or Z game, and have them come out. They'll sign your copies, or sign your Funko Pops, or sign your Steelbooks, whatever you want to do, and we'll go forward and do that. And so that's always been really, really fun, but I've always kind of missed them. I'm in Kansas. I'm as in the Midwest as humanly possible. California's expensive. It's kind of a pain to get out there, stay there for a while. But they announced this with such a heads up in terms of time. I was kind of looking at prices, flights, and I was like, I could do this. I could do a red eye. I could make a special trip out there for a day. So right now, nothing is set in stone, but I'll probably have something go up, if not later this week, early next week. All proceeds for the Patreon are going to be going towards me flying out to LA on August 17th. The goal is to go check out the event, cover the event, record a live podcast at the event with all the voice actors and fans who are going to be there. There will be details, by the way, all about the meet and greet. If you want to go, you can just check out Game Realms and search SMT5 event. Like I said, it's Saturday, August 17th. It's from 12 to 4. It's a $10 admission fee plus whatever the price of getting anything signed. There's going to be a bunch of voice actors there. Right now, we've got confirmed Casey is going to be there. Damon is going to be there. Damon is Aogami. Casey is the Nahabino. Sean Crisden is going to be there, our Prime Minister-in-Chief, Koshi Mizu. Ben Lepley is going to be there. He's Yakumo. Stuart Allen, our Dazai, is going to be there. David Ergo, our Gustav, is going to be there. Christian Lamont's going to be there as Demi-Fiend. And Bill Butts is going to be there, who is the new voice of... Oh my gosh, my brain's putting up. Anansi. So, a lot of cool voices already announced for it. I would love to go. I would love to meet you guys. I would love to just cover it as like a fun, fuck it, I'm off on a Saturday, let's fly in early and let's fly out late kind of event, trying to see what other friends might be able to come and join us with this. If you're in that area, let me know what you think. But yes, fundraiser time. Boy, sure sounds like a good time to set up the YouTube membership, but Patreon right now is the best way. Anything that goes into the SMTN Patreon, that's going towards the plane ticket of going out there. Would love to cover it. Any help is always appreciated, and then will result in, obviously, a super cool podcast for all of you guys. Would love to interview everyone out there and just kind of cover the event for everyone else who's not able to attend. And also, just, bring the Nahabino plushie out there. Let him have some fun. Let the Beano have some fun for once. Everybody, that was the show. SMTN, episode what? 338? Yep, 338. I'm going to go eat my food. I've had like a plate of food and fireworks going off in front of me the last hour. Thank you all so much for watching. Thank you all so much for chatting. It was an absolute blast. I will be back next week with a brand new episode. Hope you all enjoy Vengeance. Enjoy your 4th of July. Enjoy the rest of the month. And remember, if you're going to Anime Expo, grab me a bunch of swag, and then shoot me a DM so that I can pay you for shipping, because I am a desperate boy who needs his lanyards and his giant convention bags and notebooks and One Piece cards and manga.